This is 6 Minutes, the Seriously International daily newscast. It's Friday, January 31st, and I'm Jacob Shropshire.
And I'm Emma Albright. The weekend is getting started in Melbourne, while in Miami, people still have their Friday ahead of them. Here in the Worldcrunch newsroom in Paris, it's just after midday. These are the latest headlines. Israel breaks its ceasefire deal in Lebanon. Investigators find the black boxes in the Washington, D.C. plane crash. And our quiz question comes from a benefit concert for the California wildfires. Our top story today is Israel's attack on Lebanon's Bekaa Valley, violating the ceasefire agreement between the two countries. The Israeli army said it hit multiple Hezbollah targets in the area near the border with Syria in the east. Tensions have been escalating following the extension of a recent deadline for removing troops from the country.
Investigators have recovered the flight data recorders from the American Airlines plane that crashed into the Potomac River after colliding with an Army Black Hawk helicopter. President Trump used a press conference on the incident to blame diversity rules for the tragedy. All passengers of both aircraft died, 67 people in total. Myanmar's military extended its state of emergency for another 6 months today. Fighting is happening on multiple fronts across the country as the generals leading it are struggling to maintain their grip on power. The emergency rule was renewed just a day before the 4-year anniversary of a coup that threw the country into chaos.
And in Ukraine, Russian forces are slowly closing in on the city of Pokrovsk. If Ukraine fails to hold on to the city, Russia would be in a strong position to mount attacks in several directions in the east and increase pressure on Kyiv at a critical point in the war. Now let's take a closer look at what the international press is covering.
The front page of German daily Die Tageszeitung today had a photo of former Chancellor Angela Merkel with the headline, "Grandma versus the Right." Merkel criticized the head of the party she used to lead for voting with the far right on a new immigration restriction. Friedrich Merz, the leader of the CDU party, said in response that the policy is not wrong just because the wrong people back it. And in Brazil, President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva responded to Donald Trump's threats to raise tariffs on the country by warning of tariffs on American goods. Brazil buys more products from the U.S. than it sells to it, and diplomats say they hoped this economic boon would keep Brazil out of Trump's crosshairs.
There's a piece from Lebanon-based Araj about the momentous developments of the last month in the Middle East. With Assad ousted in Syria, a new president in Lebanon, and a ceasefire in Gaza, the tide could be turning for the better. And while some of this is spurred by broader geopolitical forces, the piece makes the case that some of the change is happening from within the region. We have translated a piece from Polish daily Gazeta Wyborcza on how Gen Z young adults in Poland are increasingly choosing to live at home with their parents. Jacob, walk us through this story.
Economics and society columnist Kamil Fejfer writes in the Gazeta that the conventional wisdom around young adults staying at home might not be the whole story, at least in Poland. He writes, "For years there has been a visible increase in the percentage of so-called nesters, people entering adulthood who do not move out of their family homes. But is the explanation for this problem really limited to the lack of housing availability and, more broadly, to the economy? Or are there some other factors at play? Economics does not fully explain the rising number of nesters. In the past, a young person who started working typically preferred to rent a room on their own, even at the cost of a significant deterioration in their standard of living. The decision was aided by nagging parents and the fact that a large number of their friends did exactly the same. Now the taboo of living at home is largely gone. It must be acknowledged that a fairly large portion of young adults today simply prefer to live with their parents. Is there anything wrong with that?"
And in German daily weekly magazine Die Zeit, we have a piece about drug culture in Switzerland. Cheap cocaine is flooding the European market everywhere. The historically drug-tolerant city has what are called consumption rooms, which are safe places for drug users to take substances, and it seems to reduce things like violent crime and miserable living conditions for addicts. Finally, singer and actress Marianne Faithfull has died at the age of 78. Born in Hampstead in 1946, she was known for hits like As Tears Go By and for starring roles in films like 1968's The Girl on a Motorcycle. She also famously was the girlfriend of Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones.
We're closing things out today with a quiz question from a benefit concert for the LA wildfires. Which band's surviving members reunited Thursday night at Fire Aid to raise money for victims of the California blazes? Is it A, Fleetwood Mac, B, A Grateful Dead, C, A Tribe Called Quest, or D, Nirvana? The correct answer is D. The surviving members of Nirvana reunited at the Fire Aid LA Fires benefit concert. Chris Novoselic, Dave Grohl, and Pat Smear made a surprise appearance at the Kia Forum in Inglewood, California. Other performances at the relief concert included Billie Eilish, Pink, Katy Perry, and Dr. Dre.
What a great show that must have been. That's the latest from around the world. If you liked this podcast, we'd really appreciate it if you could help us out with a follow, share, and a 5-star rating on your preferred podcasting platform. For more of the best of the international press, delivered exclusively in English every day, visit us at worldcrunch.com. We'll see you here tomorrow. À demain!